Hello, hi everyone, and thank you very much for watching or listening today. Today, I have the absolute pleasure of talking with Shannon, the Cannon Ritch, who has competed in just about everything. I mean, what am I talking about? Just about everything? Well, he's competed in just about every fight sport on the planet, including being a pioneer in MMA, having competed in MMA since 1991. So coming up on 30 years this year, before the UFC was even launched, has competed in, I believe, and correct me if I'm wrong, champ, over 200 professional MMA fights. We'll get into the exact number afterwards because there's a lot that are not sanctioned, obviously. So your record's bigger than what it appears to be. Shannon's also competed in quite a few other sports, including Lethwei, being one of the first Westerners to ever go to Myanmar, formerly known as Burma, in Southeast Asia, to compete there. He's also competed in bare knuckle boxing, again, long before it was the growing sport that we know today. He has made multiple film and TV appearances, including different episodes of CSI. Got a film coming out this year, I believe, with Mickey Rourke, called The Commando. Has had his own documentary made about him. Sorry, talking about you in third person, champ. I know that's something, but has also competed extensively in submission grappling, BJJ, has won multiple titles in that. Has competed in golf, which is a little bit different than fighting. Briefly in glove boxing, competed in kickboxing, and the list, it goes on and on. I mean, wow, you've had an incredible career. So before we get into all that, champ, let's talk a little bit about life for you as it is today, because I know you've got a lot of ventures going on. I know you teach shooting. I know you've got your own gym, or these different things. So, what are some of the ventures that you've got going on at the moment? What is life for you right now in 2021?
Well, Liam, thanks for having me on your show, man. I appreciate it. Second of all, yeah, man, I wear a lot of hats. I do quite a bit of things. I always try to stay active, at the ripe old age of 50, I got to stay active or, I'll probably die. So, so I just got to stay active and see what's going on. I own a gym, so I teach Brazilian jiu-jitsu, 4 or 5 times a week. And on the weekends, I got a group of people. We take them out shooting. We do AR-15 platforms, and we do pistol shooting, CQB, close quarter combat. We do assault rifles. We go out and we have a good time. I teach a lot of the CIA, the SWAT, the FBI, a lot of alphabet agencies. Oh man, and now acting. I do a lot of acting. I just did a film you said with Mickey Rourke. I got another one coming up with Bruce Willis and Nicolas Cage. And then after that, we got a 3. So I have 4 movies coming up that hopefully 2022, you'll see me on a big screen. These will probably all go to Netflix, but still, I'm getting my foot in the door in the acting world and becoming a real good actor, stuntman. And it's a lot of fun, man. I have a great time. Get to travel, see the world, meet a lot of new people. And you mentioned grappling. Yep, 2017 and 2019 BJJ world champion, black belt division. I'm a 4th degree black belt under Carlos Machado. 236 professional MMA fights. You're right. I did start in 1991, but this was prior to the internet. This was prior to people keeping records. So there's, 50, 60 fights that Sherdog and other places don't have my records. They say I started in 1998. So from 1991 to 1998, all those fights are lost, but it is what it is. I'm still number 2 in the most active fighter in the world. There's only one guy that has more fights than me. And there's only 3 guys in the world with 100 wins. I'm one of them. So that it's pretty cool. And I got to fight all over the world. I fought in Pride, main event in Pride. Fought Sakuraba. I fought Frank Shamrock. I fought Dan Severn. I mean, I fought a who's who of mixed martial arts. I fought in K1. Fought in Pancras. I fought in Russia, Thailand, Amsterdam, Canada, Mexico, Burma. You name it, I've probably been there. And, in 30 years, I've had just an amazing career. Again, I wear a lot of hats. Next up is golf. I play a lot of golf, try to get on the senior tour. PGA qualifiers. I'm a scratch golf player. I love golf. I mean, if I can go out and golf 4 days a week, that's a good week for me. Other than that, ask me any questions, man. I'm an open book.
Sure thing, I will do. And of course, the other thing to mention for for all of our viewers, eight-time world champion. That's correct, isn't it, champ? Eight-time world
Yeah,
champion.
eight-time MMA world champion. I mean, I got 36 belts, but 8 world titles. I got a ton of belts. I got so many belts. I just have them in the closet. I have them under the bed. I have some of them hanging up in my house, but yeah, man, I got a lot of titles, 8 world titles, and then 1 bare knuckle boxing world title, and is what it is, man.
Wow, incredible, incredible. Well, you know something, champ, because that was actually going to be my first question is how many fights? If you add in some of the other ones like the kickboxing, the left way, bare knuckle boxing, everything else that you've done, do you know how many it is in total if you add all those in or
Well, I mean, I got 236 professional MMA fights. I have probably like 26, 27 kickboxing fights. I probably have 200 or 300 grappling matches. And I've just been competing, for a long time. I've never sat down and calculated, but well over 300 matches for sure.
Amazing, amazing. Well, I mean, that is the first thing, really. I mean, let's start there because obviously coming up on 30 years since you started in MMA this year. I mean, how do you feel approaching such a milestone like that? Because that is really something. I mean, our viewers should make sure they're sitting down for all this because it is a
Well,
heck of a story. But how do you feel approaching such a milestone as that?
well, to me, it's it's just every day. It's not a milestone to me. It's just what I do. I've been training since the age of 10, and I've never stopped. And every time I go out and compete, win, lose, or draw, it's always try to get better and test myself and see how I'm going to win. If I lose, then why did I lose? Let's go back to the drawing board. Let's figure it out. Win, lose, or draw. A lot of people say, uh, you know, they go and they have these long fights and they have the decision wins, a split decision, unanimous decision, whatever. Me, when I fight, it's either you knock me out or I knock you out. I mean, I'm coming out hard, fast, and continuously. I'm gonna come out and try to knock you out as fast as I can. And if you knock me out, then the fans win because it's gonna be a great fight. I'm not the type of fighter that goes out and looks for a decision win because to me those are boring fights. I could literally just sit there and pick a guy apart and circle and wait, and the time limit goes up, and then win a decision. But that to me, that's just not interesting. I want to see 2 guys go in there and just bang it out, stand in the middle of the ring, throw toe to toe, and the best man win. And that's why I've had such a long career because am I the greatest fighter in the world? No, but I'm sure really exciting. A lot of people like to watch me fight because it's just nonstop action, and I think that's what the fans want. Fans want to pay that hard-earned money. They want to see a really good fight. So you come out there and swing for the fences, and hopefully you land one and you get the knockout, or you get knocked out. I mean, either way, the fans win. The fans are the ones who we're fighting for anyway. So if you win, great. If you lose, great. The fans win the fight.
Yeah. They do, and they do. And as you say with yourself, there's always fireworks, win, lose, or draw. Well, saying that you haven't had any draws, but win, lose, or at least in MMA, in anything, it's always exciting. And this is another thing because virtually all of your MMA fights have been finished in the early rounds. I mean, we're looking at first round, second round. I mean, I think it's been only a handful of times when you've been past that. I'm not sure the exact number. So it is always exciting. The question I have here, though, is a little different to that. It is obviously with your military background, something that, I didn't mention enough in the intro, but only briefly. I mean, you've seen action in Afghanistan, Kuwait, these different countries in the Middle East, and you have a military background. Does that factor into your mental toughness to compete for so many years, or do you think it doesn't make a difference, or is that a factor in?
Well, I was in Iraq. I spent time in the war in Iraq, 04 and 05. And I was a bodyguard for the United States ambassador in Iraq. I worked with a company called Blackwater USA as a private security contractor for the State Department. Just want to make sure that's right. Ex-military. Yeah, I was in the 4th Infantry Division in the United States Army. And yeah, man, I think, having some military background just makes you mentally tough. Been through some grueling, intensive training. And, you have that no quit attitude. So, in a fight, hey man, that's for fun. And when you're fighting in a war, that's the real fight. So when we just go out and fight for money, that's for fun.
Incredible, yeah. Well, massive respect, champ, for everything you've done in the military. It's amazing. So looking back then on your MMA career a little bit more, because we touched on that just now. This is quite an open question because of everything you've accomplished. But is there a proudest moment? Is there more than one? I mean, I know you were talking earlier about enjoying the process, so maybe the proudest moment is yet to come. But looking back on what you have achieved so far, I mean, is there one that stands out? Maybe more than one belt, one fight, something that's really you look back on it, you think, that was really something, or
Well, I mean, there's always the one time I was the main event in Pride 11. I got to fight Sakuraba, who at the time was the most feared fighter in the planet. He was number one. I mean, he had just beat 4 or 5 Gracies in a row. Nobody wanted to fight him. My good friend Don Fry calls me up and said, "Hey, Shannon, you want to fight Sakuraba?" And I said, "Yeah." And then he told me the money that I was going to get, and I definitely wanted to fight. And it was the first time I actually had a training camp. I trained for like 4 weeks, and I got in really, really good shape. And I went out and fought Sakuraba, and he kicked my butt. And ever, I mean, he was really, really good, better than I thought he was. He beat me, and that launched my career because I mean I got to fight in Pride, came back, fought 3 more times in Pride, and just an amazing opportunities that fighting in Pride opened the doors for a lot of things, and it just launched my career.
incredible. The other thing with that, though, just to touch on, is obviously you've seen the development of MMA from sort of an underground sport all the way to a multi-billion-dollar industry that it is today all around the world, and you've competed in that. And obviously, some of these early matches that you were in, I'd imagine they had a very different atmosphere and they had a completely different,
Well, I'll
vibe
tell
to
you,
them. Go on,
I'll
go
tell
on.
you, when we started fighting in 1991, I'd go down to Mexico, which is just south of the United States, where I'm at here in Arizona, and we'd fight in the place called Plaza de Toros, where they would have a bullfighting arena. Now, in that bullfighting arena, they'd have the chicken fights, the dog fights, and then the people would fight. And by the time the people would fight, everybody was drunk. They had pistols. They'd shoot their guns up in the air. I mean, it was nuts. And I mean, that's literally how I put myself through college. I'd go down there every weekend and fight. And when you're in college, you could go and make $400 or $500. That's a lot of money then. So yeah, I've seen it grow from fighting after the chickens and the dogs to mainstream, sanctioned by the boxing commission, being on pay-per-view. So yeah, I've seen the whole evolution of MMA.
Incredible, incredible. Oh, another thing with this then is, I mean, we've touched on the MMA, we've touched on these things, but there's quite a few other sports you've been involved in, and the tougher they are, the more you've been involved in them. So, talking about bare knuckle fighting, I mean, obviously now that's growing into a massive sport with BKFC and with obviously BKB in England. I know you fought for both, and all these different things. But again, you went 22-0, I believe, in Mexico, all finishes. Correct me if I'm wrong on that, but you won them all. So, what was the atmosphere like fighting in a Mexican bare knuckle boxing match? Because I mean, that's something you don't hear every day. I mean, that's
Now
really,
you don't hear about it every day, but I mean it happens. I mean,
yeah.
obviously it's for money and it's underground. I mean, I'm 26-3 with 26 wins by knockout. And obviously I like fighting in the sanctioned events much better. To me, they're safer. You gotta, you understand that there's gonna be a referee, there's a boxing commission, there's medics, and totally safer. But the underground fights were actually a lot of fun. You show up, and at that time it was you would put up your money, they would put up their money, the winner takes all. So if you lost, you didn't get paid. So I mean, it made you really, really want to fight because you go in and fight these guys, and if you didn't win, you didn't get paid.
Amazing. That is something. I just had to touch on that because obviously now it's a massive sport. Let's talk about a couple of the others, though. I mean, as soon as I've mentioned that, because you've come over to England, London, England, fought in the BKB promotion, you also fought in the BKFC and won titles there. So let's talk a little bit about those comparatively to how bare knuckle boxing used to be to how it is now. What are your thoughts on that side of things? Again, it's grown a lot.
Well, well, yeah. I mean, obviously, I got to give Dave Feldman props because he is the one that got bare knuckle boxing sanctioned in the United States. If it wasn't for him, the sport wouldn't be legal. But yeah, I'm not fighting for BKFC anymore. Obviously, I just signed with Ragnarok in Norway, and I'm gonna be fighting for Stan. And I've never been treated better in any organization, and that's all of my MMA fights. And I'm talking over 200 organizations. I mean, I fought for the small ones all the way to the biggest ones, and no one has treated me better than Stan at Ragnarok. I got hats off to those guys. Not only are they paying ridiculous money, but they're taking care of the fighters. So, and second, hey, the guys in London at BKB, they treated me really well too. They flew me over. Actually, me and my wife gave us a vacation, put us up in a nice hotel, paid for everything. We fought, paid me cash. Hey, I mean, a promoter's only as good as their word. So if somebody says they're going to do something, and then when they actually follow through and they do what they say, that's a good promoter. And the guys in London took great care of me. And obviously, I'd fight for them again. The guys in BKB are top-notch guys.
We are BKB. We got Ragnarok as well. Okay, brilliant. So obviously submission grappling. Let's talk about that. BJJ, jiu-jitsu, all these different things. It's obviously something that's very important to you. I mean, it goes back to high school wrestling. Obviously, you teach jiu-jitsu as well. Obviously, a lot of your wins in MMA have come that way, and all this. So it's a very important thing for you, and you won obviously multiple titles. So again, I mean, I know it's similar to the other one, but again, I want to touch on this proudest moments in grappling, because I mean, again, is there
Oh,
one
well,
that stands out?
I mean, yeah, there's two matches. I mean, in 2017, I went to Los Angeles and I won the world championships for Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu. And then again in 2019, I came back, I won it again. So two world titles in Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu. I mean, to get that medal, it's like going to the Olympics. I mean, if no one has understand what a Jiu-Jitsu tournament is, you get all of these countries. They all come to one place, and this was in Los Angeles, California. And you might have 200 countries all there representing, and you never know how many people you're going to have in your bracket. You go out and you wrestle, you might have 10 matches, you may have 20 matches. I mean, it totally depends on the day. And these guys are all top level wrestlers. I mean, everybody in there could probably win the world championships. It's just whoever got lucky. Maybe they scored, maybe they didn't score. It's very, I mean, wrestling and jiu-jitsu is like playing chess. So you got to be really careful on your moves. But anyway, I ended up winning twice. Got 2 world titles. And to me, that is, that's a feather in my hat, because, man, that's an incredible, I mean, just a place, either bronze medal, silver medal, gold medal. I mean, just a place at Worlds is a big deal, man. It's like the Olympics. So, yeah, those are my probably 2 biggest ones.
It's amazing, yeah. And let's talk about the Lethway side of things, or Lethway, depending on different people, because that is something that I've interviewed a few guys who've done that, but obviously you were one of the first, Americans or Westerners to go to Myanmar and fight anyone.
We were actually the first to go to Myanmar and fight Lethway. We fought in the national indoor stadium, and when we went, yeah, man, it was very, very much like a war zone. We had to go to the embassy and get permission. We had Marines. They were in the audience, and 20,000 people came into this stadium, and it was crazy, man. It was nuts. But you got to think about it. Lethway is the most extreme sport allowed by law. You got headbutts, you got elbows, you got knees, you got punches, and you got kicks, and you have wrestling takedowns. So you combined it all, and man, it's like MMA with Muay Thai. I mean, it was really awesome. It was one of my greatest experiences ever. I got to go to Thailand, then I got to go to Burma, and yeah, man, it was just an amazing time. Lethway is probably if you're a Lethway fighter, you're tough. I'll give you that. You're tough as nails. Lethway fighters are tough.
Yeah, they are. I mean, it's the sport is on another level. Like I say, I've interviewed a bunch of guys with that, and it's insane, some of the stories they tell, especially when you go back to the purer form actually in Myanmar, because obviously now you've got WLC and you've got different things, which is fantastic. But some of the stories I've heard from Myanmar itself, that's that's off topic. But talking about that, though, I mean, honestly, it is insane. Some of what I've heard from some of those guys. But talking about that, though, I mean, the culture in Myanmar as well is a very interesting thing as well. Because what were your impressions of the actual country when you went there? I mean, obviously it's a long way from home, and I know you fought all over the world, so obviously but
my thoughts of Burma, man, it was actually a really lush jungle. I mean, literally, we flew into the jungle. We landed at the airport, and as soon as we landed, we were met by the police and the military. They took our bags, they patted us down, and I mean, it was just a really awkward kind of feeling. They took us in jeeps and they took us to the hotel. We got in, and you got to remember, this is a communist country. The Burma had a closed border for over 10 years. No Americans could even go there. So to even be there, it was a huge honor. We're representing the United States, and we're fighting for Lethway, which is their national sport. It's kind of like Muay Thai in Thailand. So Lethwei is their national sport. We're all fighting their national champions. I mean, it wasn't like we just got easy fights. All the 3 Americans, we got to fight 3 Lethwei world champions. And yeah, man, it was just insane. One of the fights, my friend got kicked in the balls, and it turned into a riot. They had to rush us all out. The chairs and water bottles and everything was thrown into the ring. They had to cancel the event for a few minutes and get everybody calmed down because yeah, man, it was insane. It was a riot.
Right, sure. Yeah, that sounds about right. That sounds like what I've heard. Incredible. So obviously we've touched on quite a few. I mean, there is still the kickboxing hanging out there, and I do want to get to acting and golf and some other things. But the kickboxing, I mean, you've had some incredible achievements in that as well, including
I've won some really big. Yeah, I fought and won some really big kickboxing events, state and national titles in kickboxing, and then I got to fight for K1. And one of my fights was actually against Frank Shamrock at the time. He was a 5-time UFC undefeated MMA fighter. And if you don't know Frank Shamrock, he is epitome of what the ultimate athlete really is. Frank Shamrock is a tough SOB, man. That guy is really, really tough. And he's a super nice guy, He in the past, Frank Shamrock's cornered me. I went out to Hawaii and I fought an MMA fight, and I didn't have a corner man. And Frank Shamrock stepped up. He cornered me. We became friends. And, let's fast forward years later. I get a phone call, and Scott Coker's like, "Hey, we got a fight in K1. It's a super fight, but it's against Frank Shamrock." And I'm like, "Absolutely, let's do it." No one really knows the story, but I came out to London about 2 weeks prior to this, and I fought a London fighter. His name was Mark Weir. And so I fought Mark, and I'm choking Mark so hard in the fight, I fractured my own wrist. And I had to come home and put a cast on it. And then that's when I got the phone call from Scott Coker. He said, "Hey, do you want to fight Frank Shamrock?" I said, "Absolutely." And again, he paid me a lot of money. So I was like, I cut the cast off and just fought Frank Shamrock left-handed. Well, Frank was doing really well. He threw a head kick. And what do you do when you fought for so many years and someone throws a head kick? You block it. And when I blocked it, he kicked me right where that fracture was, and my arm went like this and literally just snapped it in half. And I cried big old tears, rushed to the hospital, had to get another cast put on it. But I mean, who does that? Who fights Frank Shamrock with a broken arm? That's ridiculous. I should never have done that. But when you're young and dumb, you do some crazy things.
Well, for sure. Who does that? You do it. But that is an amazing story.
I don't think I'd advise that to anybody, but hey, at the time, that seemed like the right thing to do at the time.
Yeah. Well, it was worth it in the end, though. I'd imagine. I know it was damage to your arm, but it's an amazing story to tell, and no regrets. So who knows? But touching on that, though, Champ, you mentioned something interesting there that I was actually going to get into later, but let's get into it now. Is advice for young fighters, because you said you wouldn't obviously advise that. That's probably good advice. Don't try this at home, with your arm like
don't
that.
try this at home. That's right.
One of those moments. But in terms of advice to young fighters, to succeed in combat sports, this is any sport now, whether it's grappling, whether it's MMA, I know there's a lot of advice, and I know that coaching and training and this is giving back is important to you, obviously not just in combat sports, but in shooting and other things. So there's probably more advice than you can give, in one go here. But if there were like 2 or 3 ingredients, like when you cook, certain ingredients that are essential to succeed, that you would give to like a young fighter who's in any sport now, who's listening to this, what would some of those be? Like some key advice for them?
I would say don't do it on your own. Go find a gym. Like if you're, let's just say MMA or bare knuckle boxing, for example. If you want to be an MMA fighter, go find MMA fighters, go hang out with them, go do what they do, have them teach, let them put them under your wing and let them guide you in the right direction. You got to remember, I was doing this with no playbook. We had no coaches. We had no MMA gyms. It was just guys training in a garage and winging it. I mean, we're making this stuff up as we went along. Obviously we would look at the Gracies and we knew a little bit about jiu-jitsu and we were watching videos and, obviously when we could. But you got to remember, this is pre-UFC when I started fighting. There were no MMA gyms, there were no coach. Only kind of gyms there were karate and boxing and, maybe some kickboxing, but no one knew the grappling, the wrestling, the fighting in the cage, none of that. So if I was going to tell a young fighter coming up, I'd say, hey, one, find a good coach. Find somebody that knows the sport. I was told a long time ago that if you want to learn to, if you want to drive a Cadillac, go find someone that has a Cadillac and have them teach you. And I've used that, as an analogy to, if you want to do MMA, go find a good MMA school, good MMA coach, and let them guide you, let them teach you how to become an MMA fighter. And then another thing I would do is I would tell guys, fight in your weight class. You got to find a weight class that fits you and stick to that weight class. I mean, I have a world title at 155, 170, 185, 205 in heavyweight. I walk around 220 pounds. There's no way I should have ever fought at 155, 170, maybe 185. I'm too big to be cutting all that weight. It's just ridiculous, So, pick a weight class and stick with it. There was a lot of times I took fights at 170 where I had no business fighting at 170. I think the weight cut is what really hurt me. But I did it anyway. I was dumb. I thought, I'd be the bigger guy at 170, but it is what it is. So, I mean, obviously don't cut weight if you don't have to, and find a good gym. Those are probably my two big, advice that I could give to somebody.
Mm. It's good advice, champ. It is good advice, and obviously you've done it all, really. So that's the reason for sort of highlighting that for anyone who watches this, because you've done everything. So fantastic. Okay, so a couple of other things with this now. Before we get into the golf, before we get into the acting, I want to touch on one other thing with the fighting that's in a similar vein to that. You touched on at the beginning, enjoying the process every day. That's also great advice for young fighters, is not to be so focused on the result, but to enjoy the actual process. That's really good. And you touched on fighting being fun, which is says something about you. So, some of these fights are just pure fun. And although I respect what you're saying about the war and the difference, but talking about that, the motivations here, because you've been competing at the highest level in the toughest sports in the world for 30 years. You fought all around the world. You've always done this. If there's a sport that's tough, you're there. And I mean, on levels of tough, as we said, less ways up here, something else is still tough, but it's here. So you've done all this stuff. So what keeps you personally motivated to perform at that level for such a long time? Daily, win all these titles. Do you know what I mean? It's sort of like, what is your fundamental, your why?
Well,
Because
my why is just to test myself, because I'm a pure martial artist at heart. And it's always about, when you train, you're training for a reason. Why are you training? Well, I'm training to get better. If I'm doing this takedown, or if I'm doing this punch combination, I want to see, in the gym, I'm doing this punch combination and I want to see if it works. So I go out into the fight, and that's what I do. I try to do that punch combination. Or if I'm working a submission, I'm gonna fight and I'm going to try to get that submission. So it's always about testing myself. Sometimes, believe me, I go out there and it didn't work out. It didn't work. It looked good in the gym, but in the real fight, it didn't work. So you got to give those pros and cons, and you're like, okay, you know what? That's an incredible move. It looks great on TV. It looks great in training, but in real life, it's probably not going to work. So don't try that in the real fight. And that's what it is with me. Is I'm always testing myself. I want to see if I can get better. And I want to see if I can compete with these younger guys. Because a lot of times, I'm 50 years old. I'm fighting guys at 25. So literally, I'm fighting guys half my age. And age is a big deal. But also, I think I'm wiser. I got man strength, and I believe in myself, man. I got self-confidence. And these younger guys, I just don't think they have the experience. And I've got a lot of experience. And that's all I can say on that.
Mm. It is incredible, by the way. I mean, still competing at 50, even though you sort of look 35 or something like that. I mean, it is an amazing thing, because, I believe age is just a number, but I can also see the different factors that come into it.
Sure.
But the pursuit of perfection is a powerful lesson. And it's not a question, it's just me saying, because even the fact that, your documentary, The Last Samurai, I mean, it pretty much sums it up, that name. I mean, The Real Last Samurai. I mean, it pretty much sums it up, because, you do have that true warrior mentality. And that's not even a question, man. That's just me saying, it's that's incredible. So, okay, now one thing I do have to mention, because we have talked about the glitz and the glamour and the incredible heights of fighting, but the one thing I do have to touch on to make this a complete interview, about fighting, is, having done this for as many years as you have, do you have any long-term effect, any long-term damage, or anything like that? Because you seem well. I mean, obviously at face value, but
I think the brain damage. No, I don't think I have that. I've done neurological exams, and I've tested high as you can on that.
Mhm.
But I didn't take a lot of punishment, man. My fights, you know, we didn't go to the second and third round and just take punishments to end up losing the decision. We're standing there ready just to go and get knocked out or get submitted. I mean, again, that's another part of the way I fight. Am I saying that's the way everyone should fight? That's for me. That's how it's worked out, and that's what I do. But yeah, I don't think I have any long-term damage. Yeah, I've had some injuries, but people play tennis or play golf. They have injuries, so everyone has injuries. That's
Mm.
just part of just part of living. That's just part of life. But my injuries never hindered me, and I've always come back from the injury, and just always moving forward, always moving. Got to stay moving.
100%, 100%. Yeah, it's just something, it's bound to come up when people think, wow, he's had all these fights, like, what's going on? So it's a good insight. But the last real fight question I have before moving to some of your other ventures it's a pretty quick one, really. It's obviously the travel side of things, because as you mentioned, you fought in just about every country, you can think of. I was reading the list when I was researching this, and I think, wow, this is been around the world a few times over. But is there a favorite country that you've been in terms of like the welcome that you've received, or maybe in terms of the crowd when you're fighting, or
Yeah,
you
yeah, of
know
course. I mean, you have to say Japan is number one. The Japanese fans, win, lose, or draw, they just love you. I've always been treated like a king when I go to Japan. Um, I was treated amazing in China. I was treated amazing in Russia. I mean, these are beautiful countries. Obviously in England, I've always been treated well in London. Um, Hawaii, I love Hawaii. I mean, I know it's part of the United States, but it's an island. Um, Thailand. Um, I pretty much love going wherever there's a beach. So I mean, if I fight in Puerto Rico, Hawaii, Thailand, there's a nice beach, and I always try to get a vacation after the fight. If I'm able to, I'd like to get a vacation after the fight because I love the beach. And me and my wife, we just enjoy the beach, and we love to hang out on the beach, and we're beach rats. So that's what we do. But yeah, I've been all over the world, literally, and it's great because I've met so many people. I've got tons and tons of friends from all over the world, and it's just been a great life. It really has. It's been a good life.
Mm, amazing. Cool. So there's only a couple more things now anyway. I mean, because we packed a lot in considering everything you've had. It's obviously I got to touch on golf here because obviously that's a little bit different to fighting, and I could sort of maybe see, and maybe I'm off base here, the same pursuit of perfection quality going on there maybe. But I mean, what sort of drew you to golf? Because obviously it's quite different than.
So golf is the hardest sport in the world, and you'll never beat it. I mean, that's the thing. You'll never beat golf.
Mhm.
You're always trying to get a better score than you did the day before. Man, it's just incredible. But what got me into golf is I'm just a natural, I'm a natural athlete. I've done every kind of sport you could think of. I saw golf. I got an opportunity to play golf, and the guy I was with is a golf coach, and he actually plays with the PGA. He's on a tour, and he watched me hit the ball, and he's like, Shannon, most people cannot hit the ball that far. You have a special gift. And I was just like, what are you talking about? But I can hit the ball 400 yards, over 400 yards. So a lot of times I could be on a par four and I can drive the green in one, make a putt, make eagle, make birdie. And he's like, hey, that's not common. That's not, everyone can't do that. And I didn't really get that until, I played for a couple years, and then I figured out, oh, wow, I hit the ball long and not too many people hit it that far. So obviously getting better and getting better and getting better, instead of hitting the ball really far right, really far left, now I hit it right down the middle. Um, and it's just a really interesting game. I mean, because you can go out, you can have a really great game, make a great shot, or you can tear it apart and you feel like you want to throw your club into the water. So it teaches you how to stay focused. It teaches you not to worry about what happened 5 minutes ago, but how to relax. I think golf has a lot of life lessons in it. One is integrity. You're playing golf with a guy and they hit the ball and it's not such a good shot, so maybe they kick it with their foot so they get a better shot. Um, in golf, you can't do that. You got to have integrity, and you play one round of golf with somebody, and you'll know what kind of person they are.
Yeah, that's amazing insight, actually. I can see where you're coming from. It's a really profound insight. I like that. The last couple of things, champ, just for so you know for your time and so we know for the viewers' time, is basically talk about your acting career, future plans, and then that's what I got left. So,
Man, I got 4 big movies coming up, man. One's Mickey Rourke, Bruce Willis, um, Nicolas Cage. Actually, I'm gonna go to Thailand and to Bangladesh and go film out there. I'll be out there for like 4 weeks, filming. So I'm a stunt actor. I do stunts and I also do acting. And I can't tell you enough, man. I got Kieran Gallagher, one of the top stunt coordinators in Hollywood, and another guy named Phil Tan, top stunt coordinator, also producer, director. Phil Tan is the man. His son is actually Louis Tan, and Louis Tan is the star of Mortal Kombat, the new Mortal Kombat that's coming out. So the Tan family is just from top to bottom, husband, wife, kids. They're all just amazing people, and they're all deep in Hollywood. Um, they're all connected, and obviously I'm friends with them, and they've opened the door for me to do some stunt acting. And if it wasn't for Kieran and wasn't for Phil Tan, I wouldn't obviously have the opportunity that I have. So my hats off to those guys for giving me a chance. But coming from the MMA world into the acting world, it's still entertainment, and I love being in front of the camera. Who doesn't? And just have a great time, man. I've got some big movies coming up, so hopefully you guys will watch me on Netflix, see me on the big screen, and say, "Hey, there's Shannon the Cannon." So
incredible, incredible. Well, champ, I mean, we've packed so much in. I mean, it's amazing. The only other thing I'd say is not really a question, but just is it anything you'd like to say to your fans? Any final words for the people who've sort of supported you over the years, and anything like that? I mean, if there's nothing,
I'm the type of guy. Literally, it's nice to be important, but most important to be nice. I'm the type of guy that if you see me out and about, you see me on the internet, send me a message, say hi. I'll always respond. I handle all my own Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. So if you see me out there, shoot me a question. I'll always answer it. Send you a picture. Whatever. I'm always there for the fans.
Absolutely, 100%. Well, champ, it's been a pleasure. I mean, I knew it would be good, but it's exceeded my expectations so much more than that. So I really do appreciate your time very much. Appreciate you making the time. And like I say, it's been a pleasure. Thank you.
All right, man. Just remember Ragnarok, June 5th in Norway. You guys can watch it on pay-per-view, okay? Guys, watch me fighting for a world title.
There we go, guys. You heard it first. Shannon the Cannon. Check it out. Awesome. Pure Blue Limitless, the purest phycocyanin on the planet. This is taking the sports industry by storm with multiple world champions, Olympians, and many other world-class athletes, all the way down to your regular gym goers and fitness enthusiasts, even amateur athletes, using this product to maximize their potential and move a step closer to the life of their dreams. This product works in a unique way on a cellular level. Unlike any other product on Earth, this is created with a patented photobioreactor technology that no one else in the world has access to, breaking down lactic acid and reconverting it into ADP. In other words, breaking the waste and reconverting it into fuel. You can train longer, harder, faster, and considerably outdo your competition. Whether you're just looking for more energy, whether you're a professional athlete or somewhere in between, this product is for you, boosting physical, mental, and emotional health through increased energy and amazing world-class anti-inflammatory effects that cannot be beaten. Thank you very much for watching. Please subscribe to the Simply Inspired YouTube channel, and there'll be more videos coming soon.